If you're engaged or you know somebody who is, this is a very important episode for you.
Pause your wedding planning, send this to your fiance, and go on a walk together and listen to it.
Here's the truth. Most marriages don't fall apart because of one big moment. They slowly drift because of two things: poor communication and unresolved conflict.
So today, we're giving 5 things you need to know and something to do about it before you say, I do.
Oh, don't you know it's called rolling out the prison marriage podcast?
We have a lot of people that listen to the podcast and watch the YouTube channel, but while you're enjoying the content, you're not subscribed. If you will subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcast, or Spotify to Carl and Heather Present, it helps us so much to continue giving you the important content that helps your marriage get stronger and stay stronger. So please like and subscribe. All right. Today is a special episode.
It is.
It's kind of a pre-marriage audit. Not to scare anybody, but to prepare engaged couples for what's ahead.
And here's the deal. You don't need perfect answers, but you do need real answers.
And this is the ultimate qualifier to this episode. This is better than nothing, but it could never replace good, biblical, Christ-centered premarital counseling. So do not skip this step. If you are engaged and you're getting married soon, do some premarital counseling first. It will make a huge difference on how you get started and how long you can keep going.
Okay, so let's get into it. You ready?
All right.
Okay.
Let's go.
First thing, build your why. Build your why. And a lot of couples are really clear on how they feel, like I feel this way towards you and this is why we're going to get married, but they're not really sure where they're going.
Yeah, the question is, what is marriage for?
Okay, so is it companionship? Is it mission? Is it about sex? Is it about family or stability or growth? We believe, Carl and Heather Present, our podcast, we believe that marriage is God's plan. It's His idea. And for us, an understanding outside of a biblical context doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And so we're grounding this entire episode on that linchpin, that this is where we're starting. Marriage is God's idea, and that's how we have a durable foundation. Hard stop. The Bible's designed for marriage, and the Bible's central figure, Jesus Christ, teaches us everything we need to know about marriage. Let's look at this verse, Ephesians 5:25-32. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself up for her, so that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word, that he might present to himself the church in all her glory, having no spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that she would be holy and blameless. So husbands also ought to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his own wife loves himself, for no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as Christ also does the church, because we're all parts of his body. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. And this mystery is great, but I am speaking with reference to Christ and the church.
This is the great mystery that Paul talks about in Ephesians, and he uses this beautiful betrothal, husband-wife language to package what Christ did for the church. And it is very important to realize that those two are inseparably linked. The picture of marriage and the picture of Christ and the church are really one and the same when you view it through the lens of the Bible. And so for those who are getting married, viewing that through the lens of the Bible, viewing the purpose of your marriage, I hope you have companionship. I hope you make babies. I hope all of the things that happen that we dream about when we're engaged, I hope all those things happen. And over and above those things, Your marriage is best viewed through the lens of the New Testament and through the metaphor of Christ and the church. What Christ has done for the church is really the picture of what we must do for each other as husband and wife. So that's the first thing of building our why. And the second is more of a warning. If you're engaged and you believe that, but you are going into a relationship with a spouse who does not, it's important to remember 2 Corinthians 6:14-16. Do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers, for what fellowship has righteousness with lawlessness? And what communion has light with darkness? And what accord has Christ with Belial, which is another God, a foreign God? Or what part has a believer with an unbeliever? This is the Bible's warning that when you do try to unite your beliefs with opposing beliefs or different beliefs, it is a setup for conflict, and it is a setup for, it's going to limit flourishing. It's going to be confusing, and it's going to ripple out over almost every other aspect of your marriage. And that's why we use this point first. That's why we put this point first. Build your why first, because if you don't build your marriage on Christ, none of this stuff matters. If you're not aligned on your why, you will constantly feel like you're pulling in different directions.
Okay, so here's an action step that we want to have for everybody. For each of these points, we're going to give you an action step, and it's this. Make Christ the center of each of your lives and write a one-sentence marriage purpose statement together that describes how you'll be married together for his purpose.
And if your question is, how do I make Christ the center of my life? The first step, Romans 10:9-10, declare with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised Jesus from the dead. That is a first step towards receiving the gift that God died to give you, that Jesus died to give you, in beginning a life of faith that is centered on Christ. The Bible goes on to say that if you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth, you will be saved. That first step of salvation is the first brick that you lay in the foundation of a healthy marriage.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. Build your why.
Yep.
The second thing, understand how you communicate. Most couples think they have good communication because they don't fight so much. But this is huge because studies show that couples who have figured out communication, and then this other thing we're going to talk about next, have much more durable relationships than ones who have not. Good communication helps your marriage last the long haul. It's better than good sex. It's better than being rich. It's better than having a degree in psychology. Any of one of those things might be nice, but nothing beats knowing how to communicate and understanding how to communicate for your marriage.
Well, and not what we're not talking about here is just we have good communication because we talk a lot. Because I think that might be easy in every early relationship. Like we just talk to each other. We never run out of things to talk about. So we must really be good communicators. That isn't the same, though, as being understood and understanding your spouse. And that's what we're talking about. Look at a verse in James 1:19. It says this, "So then, my dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires." Those three directives that were given in James, quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. We've got to learn how to do that. And we've struggled with this. This is something that we have to work on in our own marriage.
Yeah, my version of that verse is be quick to speak, quick to become angry, and listen later. You know, that has that's how my impulses have played out. What's it been like for you?
Well, for me, it's that I know, and I've learned about myself that I need time to process. But sometimes in my processing, I won't listen and hear you clearly. I'll be waiting to talk instead of listening to what you're saying. And I think we all can kind of fall into that category sometimes of like, instead of really hearing your heart and listening to what you're saying. And so I've had to learn to, when you say something, ask some clarifying questions so that I can really understand what you're saying. And then also understand that my first response, or what we're now calling my first draft, which would be what I would say initially, might not be my real heart. It might just be the emotions that are kind of coming up at the time. And so we just have to be really careful and tender with each other's hearts when we're communicating.
Well, and you need time to communicate.
Correct.
You almost never say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Right.
You're quiet about it. And I prefer immediacy. So your need for time is frustrating to me, and my need for immediacy is frustrating to you. So if we indulge ourselves on those needs, where we think about ourselves first, that's when our communication breaks down. So what is the action step that we want these engaged couples to have?
Okay, think about Proverbs 20, verse 5, when you think about this action step. It says this: the purpose of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out.
All right.
So your action step is ask these questions. When do you feel most heard by me? And then what's another question?
What shuts you down when we talk?
Two really good questions to ask each other. Okay, so if we want to work on communication and build good communication, we have to do those action steps. So that's the second thing. Third thing, point number 3, we have to invest in intimacy. Now, you might be thinking, we're not there yet. We're engaged, right? And so what does that mean?
Well, a lot of couples think intimacy is just physical, and it's a part of it, but it's not all of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's emotional, spiritual, and physical, all connected together. Okay? And so, it's
can't
not
be
just
emotionally open. Physical intimacy will eventually feel disconnected. It'd be like having sex with somebody, but they're in another room.
Well, and we've said this before, that you can have good sex and not a good marriage. There are a lot of people who enjoy the physical act of sex, but either they're not married or they have terrible marriages. We're talking about the whole package. And so what makes you feel close to me? I don't mean from an intimate standpoint as far as sex goes, but what makes you feel intimate and like you can open up your heart to me?
Well, Genesis 2:24, famous Bible verse about marriage and about the husband leaves his father and mother and cleaves to his wife. In other words, attaches himself to her permanently. And they become one flesh. The Bible describes Adam and Eve. When this happened for them, it says they were naked. Both of them were naked, and they felt no shame. It's really interesting that Genesis 2 and 3 talk a lot about nakedness connected with shame. At first, they were naked and they felt no shame. And then one of the first things that God does to help Adam and Eve out after they've sinned is cover up their nakedness. And what's the Bible trying to say right there? What's the Bible doing when it talks about so much nakedness? And it's more than just physical nakedness. And it's the idea that intimacy is interrupted by shame. And so when we carry shame into our intimate relationship, and we carry our unconfessed sins, when we carry our pathologies and our brokenness into the marriage relationship, it can risk physical intimacy. So what makes me feel close to you? I like it because you're pretty. I like it when you smell good. And you're like my type. And when I'm closest to you, it's when I am free of shame and when I am free of the burden of my sin, when I have laid myself bare and opened myself up to you in a very intimate way, but it's deeply connected to my spiritual realities and my relationship with God. Same question for you. What makes you feel close?
Yeah, I think in the same way, when I feel safe enough to be truly who I am and undress not only my body, but my heart in front of you, and know that whatever is there, you're going to receive it and you're going to love me for who I am, that makes me feel more connected to you.
And then sex becomes the reflection of connection, not the replacement for it.
Yeah. So our action step here is that we have to talk often and openly about this thing, okay? Often, we've got to talk about intimacy often, and we've got to be open about it. And we have to talk about what specifically our expectations within intimacy, from specific things like how often do you want to have sex? That's something too important. What does that look like? Where do we have it? You know, that kind of thing. Who initiates? All the different things that go along with that. Our fears with that. What am I afraid of in this situation? And then past experiences. And be wise and be careful with that. Be tender, because everybody comes in with baggage. It may look like Gucci baggage. It may be from Walmart, but it's baggage. And so be careful and tender with each other in that.
Yeah.
Okay, we ready to move on to point 4?
Let's do it.
Okay, point 4, learn to fight for each other. And this is just conflict resolution. How do we work through conflict resolution? You're going to fight. We all fight. But fighting is not the issue.
Yes, that's the big point that we would love for every couple to remember. Conflict is not something to avoid. It is something that you're going to navigate. And the question is not whether you fight. It's, do you know how to come back together after conflict? Ephesians 4:26 and 27. Be angry and do not sin. Don't let the sun go down on your anger, and give no opportunity to the devil. Very interesting set of warnings here. Be angry, but do not sin. It positions anger as a neutral thing, or just another emotion that you can have and not be sinful. But I think any emotion, you could be afraid and slip into sin. You could be arrogant and slip into sin. You could have some emotion and slip into sin. So anger is a normalized emotion, but don't sin in your anger when you're in conflict. So many times, I have not been known for having a broad emotional vocabulary or a wide range of things. I'm either happy or I'm mad, and we've talked a lot about that in our relationship. I'm very easy to understand in that way. I'm not super sophisticated, and if anger is the only thing I've got to work with, that's been something I've had to mature in. And knowing that anger is hardly the response for every situation. And especially if anger gets me so close to sinning and gets me so close to hurting someone. That's what this is talking about, because anger gives the devil an opportunity to interrupt and divide and put doubt and disparage the other person, especially when time passes. Don't let the sun go down on your anger is another way of saying, hey, the more time passes because of this conflict, the more opportunity the evil one has to influence how you think about it. So repairing, anger isn't the problem. Unresolved anger is an open door for the evil one. So make a policy in your family early on. Don't delay repair.
Okay, Matthew 5:23 and 24 says, if you are offering your gift at the altar, and there remember that your brother has something against you, first be reconciled. Before anything else, go make it right. And this is what we're just talking about. We might get angry with each other. No, I'm going to take that back. We will get angry with each other, right? And sometimes I will hurt you in my anger. What I have to do, though, is I have to repair it. And there's also an interesting correlation here with bringing something before God. have a whole nother podcast about this, about our prayers and our relationship with God, with unforgiveness or unreconciled relationships and anger and things like that. But we've got to go make it right. Okay. And so for us, when we engage in conflict, I think my default would be typically to wall off. And we always liken it to like a Captain America, Incredible Hulk kind of thing. But really, it's just, I'm not really sure what I'm feeling. Maybe I'm feeling a lot of fear. And so in conflict, if I'm feeling afraid, I'm going to build up a wall and I'm not going to give you anything.
Yeah.
And
then I'm going to be like Incredible Hulk. I'm a lot like Incredible Hulk.
Handsome,
I'm super nice,
smart.
And then I can become angry. But he's only got one mode, like Hulk smash. You know what I mean? And when you indulge that, you're always going to create harm. So what I've had to learn is just to be in conflict and know I'm safe. You hear a lot of people like, "Oh, I want to be in safe spaces." Sure. It has been so long since I've been in actual danger of anything. Right. You know what I mean? So we're almost never under threat, under literal threat. And I have to remember that. There is no reason for you to respond this way to this external stimuli. Yeah. This is so much more about my ability to be at peace in the presence of God. And Tim Keller has this great quote: if the resurrection really is true and Jesus really is who he says he is, then everything is okay. Everything is okay. Yeah. And that's how we move towards repair in conflict. We remember that if the foundation of this relationship is Jesus, there will be conflict. I mean, there's conflict in the New Testament. It's Christians against Christians from the drop. You know what I mean? Sure. Even the disciples were like, "Let me be better than him." No, I want to be better. Yeah, I mean, that's baked into everything. It's a feature, not a bug. But remembering Christ has done all and is in all and is through all and is holding all things together, then if he's the one holding us together, we need to work to repair what's broken so much more than we need to indulge these base instinct, inherited impulses that we have from who knows where they come, from our families, from learned behavior, from old relationships. So.
Yeah. Proverbs 15:1 says, "A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." And interestingly enough, all metaphors break down. But when I think about you talking about the Hulk metaphor, I also know that in all the episodes or even in all the movies, Hulk ends up in isolation. He always ends up by himself. And I think that's the plan of the enemy, to isolate us from each other and from God. And so anger can sabotage vulnerability. It will within conflict. And so we have to be careful. And so what's an action step for that?
For the engaged couple, agree to this. We don't walk away without a plan to come back together. If it's 5 minutes from now, say, "Hey, I'm getting angry. I need a break. I'll see you in 5 minutes." But the action step we want to give you is do not walk away without a plan to come back together.
Okay. Point 5, define expectations. And this is in a lot of different areas, with money, with roles that you're going to take on in your family, and then with your family of origin or your new family. What is that going to look like? And so this is where a lot of silent assumptions live.
Yeah.
And it can be kind of dangerous, right? In all of these areas, okay? Right. No one argues about things that we're clear on and we're on the same page on. They argue about, "I just assumed you thought this," right?
Right.
Like for us, birthdays. We're going to go to every birthday party of every relative I've ever had and buy a gift and go out to dinner.
Yeah.
That was my assumption. And
that
was
I was
right.
like, why would you ever do that?
Yeah. Right.
But we never talked about that. And when it wasn't talked about, that was the place, one of the many places we got into conflict, but it was because we didn't define expectations. But there are a lot of these conversations. You could probably not have all the conversations you need to have before you get married, but the big ones are money, roles, extended family. What are we going to do about kids? Do we want kids? Those kind of things.
Yeah.
And another one that I would add in there that we've talked about earlier is faith. Like, where are we on church?
Yeah.
Where are we on Jesus? You know what I mean? So don't ask, what do you think? Ask, what do you want to see in this relationship? What have you seen growing up? And how would you like it to be different? Get into the weeds on almost all of these things. How did your family do money? How did your family parent? What was your family's feeling on? And because people are bringing to a new relationship all they know to bring, and they're bringing their past with them.
Right.
And a new marriage means a new family, but it's built of the stuff from the past. It's built from how you're built.
Right.
And so it's important to have these conversations. An unspoken expectation turns into spoken frustrations. So what's the action step for defining expectations? What do we want these beautiful, wonderful future married people to do?
So we would encourage you to have a no assumptions night. No assumptions. And it's where you are asking questions open-handed with no assumptions about what your spouse might say so that you can better understand them. And that is the goal, understanding where they're coming from. And so you maybe ask these questions. How will we handle money? How will we handle money? And see what they think. And then they would ask you the same thing back, and you see where you align and where you don't align and where you need to come together. Or what does a typical week look like? So we're both working full time. When I get home, is the expectation from your family of origin or what you think that I would meal prep and buy all the groceries and cook for dinner and, clean up? Or is that going to be something we do together? Are we going to take turns? Or how does our family play into this? Like, are we going to go to all the birthdays? And if not, whose birthday are we going to go to? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so no assumptions. We're just going to find those things out and ask those questions.
All right. Here it is. A recap of the 5 things. Number 1, build your why. Number 2, understand how you communicate. Number 3, invest in intimacy. Number 4, learn to fight. And number 5, define expectations. And all that spells out build.
I like it.
If you can build communication and conflict resolution in these 5 areas, you're not just preparing for a wedding, you're preparing for a lifetime together.
So talk to me about a great marriage. What is a great marriage?
A great marriage is becoming the kind of person who knows how to love each other well. If you're engaged, don't rush this season.
We want you to lean in, ask hard questions, and build something that lasts.
Yeah. You can plan a wedding, but you have to build a marriage. And hopefully one day you can say, together on purpose.
Together on purpose.